getting heated up now. Um, Obviously, we had the Arsenal and Real Madrid game, which was a cracker, really. Obviously, Arsenal winning that 3-0, two great strikes from Declan Rice from the free kick. And then we had the other tie, Inter Milan, a narrow victory over Bayern Munich to put them in the driving seat for the second leg. And then yesterday, I mean, no change, really. My favourites for the Champions League, as I said, are Barcelona. I think in terms of balance, in terms of quality, I think Barcelona, yeah, big up Will. I think Barcelona have the best 11, I would say, overall. They got so much quality in their front line, in their midfield. And I think defensively, there's still a couple of question marks, but I think the balance of their team, I think for sure, man, is definitely the most secure, I think, out of all the teams. I think them and PSG, I would say. So obviously Barcelona running out 4-0 winners against Borussia Dortmund. Again, I didn't really expect Borussia Dortmund to really do anything against Barca. Obviously, they're doing poor in the league at the moment. I think they're eighth position in the Bundesliga, and Barca obviously top in the La Liga. And again, man, yeah, they just dispatched of Borussia Dortmund. And obviously the second leg, at the Westfalia Stadion, I think that Barcelona really are just gonna just see the game out. I think they can afford, to rest a couple of players if they wanted to as well. But I think the likes of Lewandowski, Raphinha, who are chasing, the top goal scorer in the Champions League and records, I think they most probably will play. And again, Lewandowski's record against Borussia Dortmund, I think he's got 29 goals in 28 games since he left them and played against them, which is insane, really. So yeah, I think that going into that second leg, they'll get the job done. As I can see a few changes. They might want to rest some players for the league game and for league games and try and just secure the league title, really. But the game yesterday, obviously Barcelona's lineup, obviously Ter Stegen's still out, but they had Wojciech Szczesny in goal, former Arsenal goalkeeper. So obviously when they first signed him, I was a bit surprised, but when you actually think about it, the majority of goalkeepers in this era are good shot stoppers, and what separates the very best is the concentration. Big up to Masoom Singham and big up to Always Anna. Big up for coming on, guys. I said if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do and smash that like button and check out my other content, guys. Big up for coming on. And then obviously the defense was, I was surprised that Captain Ronald Arroyo didn't start the game, but Jules Koundé at right back. Again, I think that was Jules Koundé's 101st consecutive game, and for club and country. And again, very, very solid at the back, Jules Koundé. And then left back was obviously from the youth, Alejandro Balde. And again, Balde, top defender in the making. I think he's going to become one of the best left backs in the world for sure. I think he's already one of them, but I think he might become the best left back in the next 2 or 3 seasons. I think competing with Nuno Mendes, I would say. And then centre backs was obviously Pau Kabasi, just recently turned 18, and Inigo Martinez, left-footed centre back to add the balance. And then midfield for me is where it gets interesting, because for me they've got arguably, I would say he's the best midfielder of his generation in Pedri. I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's the closest player to a Iniesta and a Fabregas. I think for me, the way I liken Pedri, he's a mix of Iniesta, Fabregas, and Xavi. I would say he's that good, And as I said, I think he's the best midfielder of his generation. And next to Frankie De Jong, again, if Frankie De Jong can stay fit, and he can play in that DM position, which was obviously occupied by Busquets throughout the years, I think you're looking at, again, one of the best midfielders of his generation and in the game right now. So that combination between them two is mad, And then you had Fermin Lopez again playing in the 10, just off of Lewandowski. And then in the wide areas, Raphinha, who's having the season of his life. I think Raphinha has got, I believe, 50. He got a goal yesterday, which again taking it off of Kabasi, but I think he's got a goal and 2 assists, which makes it, I think, 57 GA in all competitions. Again, I'm not someone that's massive on GA and stats or this nonsense, but that's an insane number to have 57 GA in a single season. And then obviously the superstar Lamine Yamal on the right hand side. And if anyone see Yamal's finish, people look at the finish and think, the little toe poke, but have a look at Yamal's first touch. The way that his first touch just took it into his path, and that made the finish possible and made it easy. The guy's 17. He's 18 in June, and what a player, man. And as Naman Mahajan, big up for coming on. Big up Logan Dalton. Big up Bitter Plays as well. As Naman Mahajan said, Yamal is a region of Messi. He's the closest thing that I've seen to Messi. At first, I thought it was Paulo Dybala. I was a massive fan of Dybala. But again, Dybala's career hasn't really gone the way that it should have. But in terms of being a Messi regen, you don't want to put too much pressure on Yamal. But Yamal's the closest thing to Messi. And this is a guy that's going to dominate the Balon D'Or for sure. I have no doubts about that. Already at 17, I would say he's comfortably the best player in the world, and I don't remember too many 17-year-olds, not even Messi at that age, that was the best player in the world. You know what I mean? So yeah, Lamine Yamal, man, he's got the world at his feet. And as I said, his goal yesterday and the finish and the first touch, was just world class, And again, if you really study the first touch that he took, you will see that set up the goal, because the ball that was played to him, he had to take it basically in his path on his left foot, because if he takes that on his right foot, obviously that finish isn't possible. But the fact that he just cushioned it into his path and then toe poked it into the corner, yeah, top finish, man. But yeah, top player. And again, Robert Lewandowski getting 2 goals, I think that makes it, I think he might be on 40, is that 41 goals in all comps? I think it might be, or something like that. But again, Lewandowski, man, still showing why he's one of the best strikers in the world still. And this Barcelona team suits him perfectly, because you've got Yamal, obviously he's a young superstar. You've got Raphinha again, who's having a season of his life, and Lewandowski, obviously the experienced head, and just knits it all together, man. So that combination there is frightening. And with that midfield behind them, of Pedri, Frankie de Jong, you had Gavi on the bench as well, who come on. Fermin Lopez again through the youth. I was very happy to see Ansu Fati come on as well. I'm a massive fan of Ansu Fati, and I just hope that he can get the game time, so he can be a regular fixture in this lineup as well, because I still think he has got the quality. But that front three is very hard to get into, and yeah, they're gonna be, for me, they're my favourites to win the whole thing, and I had said that from the start. And again, they've got 1 foot in the semi-final, which will be I think against Inter Milan, and that's going to be a great game as well, because Inter Milan's defense is sturdy, man. It's solid, and yeah, we're looking forward to some good semi-finals, I would say, because I think just going on to the next semi-final, PSG Aston Villa. I do think PSG now 3-1 scoreline. I do think PSG will go and see that through, at Villa Park in the second leg. And Aston Villa have had a good run, man, to be fair, to get all the way to the quarterfinals. But I think you're meeting one of the favourites in PSG with the quality they have. So, yeah. But just going back to Dortmund, as I said, yeah, Dortmund didn't really produce nothing on the night, And again, they're going to need to just focus on Bundesliga to the end of the season and trying to get a respectable finish and try and see if they can get back into Europe, because I think they're in 8th at the moment. I think top 3, I believe, might be Champions League. I don't know if they can make that, but Europa League for them might be the avenue. But as I said, they were never really in the game. They had a couple of chances. A few of their players disappointed on the night. But again, Barca were always in control, and as I said, yeah, they deserve that win, maybe more. But yeah, just heading on to PSG, back to PSG. Again, Aston Villa going 1-0 up through Morgan Rogers. And again, Morgan Rogers for me is a top player, man. I think, you're looking at possibly someone that's going to be one of England's key players in the future. I would have him playing at 10 over anyone right now. I do think he's a top player, Morgan Rogers. And Aston Villa they've got a steal, buying him from Middlesbrough. Obviously, Morgan Rogers, formerly of Man City as well. But yeah, he's a top player, man. And obviously another goal for him as well. But I think PSG, just like Barcelona, they're the most balanced team in this tournament, in terms of the midfield. And I think PSG's midfield up against Barcelona's midfield is going to be a great battle, man. Because again, Luis Enrique, formerly of Barcelona, so the kind of midfield that he likes. He likes ball players in there. And to have a Vitinha, João Neves, and a Fabian Ruiz up against a Frankie de Jong, Pedri, and if it is Fermin Lopez, or you might have Gavi in there, or a Dani Olmo in the 10, that battle there is going to be crucial. And again, you've got 6 players there from whoever you choose from who are just great footballers, and obviously young Zaire Emery as well, for PSG, come on as well. But that's going to be a great battle. Their front three against fluid. You got Ousmane Dembele, who notoriously does play from the right or the left, but in this system plays more or less through the middle. But they're fluid in terms of everyone can go everywhere in that front three. So you might have Dembele 1 minute on the right, you might have Doue on there, you might have Doue on the left. Dembele, I think Dembele more or less stays on the right or the centre, because you've got Kvaratskhelia and Doue, who played yesterday, that occupy that left-hand side. But they're fluid, you know what I mean? And they're hard to pick up. So, if you've got centre backs that want to mark strikers, this is the kind of team that will give you problems, because they can move all over the place. And that gets me on to Desire Doue, 19 years of age. Again, someone that's going to be talked about as being one of the best players, I believe, in world football in the next few years. Can he match Lamine Yamal? Remains to be seen. I think he's got the ability to, but that strike yesterday, was special, and he's got that in his game, and again, I thought Barcola would have started, but obviously Doue's been playing well as of late, and another goal to kind of cement his position in that team. And then again, I think once they got the equaliser, I thought there's only one team that was going to win it. Again, I didn't really watch the game because I had the Barcelona and Dortmund game on. But once PSG got that goal at home, I just thought they're going to come back into it. And again, the goal in injury time, Kvaratskelia's goal as well. Again, they've got individual ability to cause anyone problems, and bringing in Kvaratskhelia, in January, that could be the game changer for them, because I believe in these next, because I believe they'll get past Aston Villa, but the semi-final and the final, you're going to need individual brilliance, I believe, to get past a lot of these teams. And Kvaratskhelia has got that in abundance, just like Doue. Barcola has got more of the pace, I would say, and Dembele's got trickery, and he's got the pace as well. And obviously, as you can see, he's been scoring goals. But yeah, I would say that, yeah, PSG and at the moment Arsenal semi-final. But I wouldn't rule out Real Madrid, because I've seen mad things happen. And do I think Real Madrid can claw it back? I mean, you can never bet against Real Madrid. So obviously Arsenal will fancy themselves right now in a driving seat. But I think this second leg, I don't know why, but I can see something mad happening. But yeah, this PSG team, man, they're gonna take some stopping, and I expect to see a Barcelona PSG final. And again, Inter Milan, for me, they're gonna have a say in this, but I think Barca will get to the final. I think Barca are playing football, that is irresistible, I would say, and I think Barca have got another gear to go into as well. So yeah, but big up Aston Villa, man, because they've had a good campaign in the Champions League. But again, man, you're playing one of the favourites for me in PSG, and yeah, I think second leg they'll see it through, 100%. You know, and again, Nuno Mendes, man, that 93rd minute goal, 92nd minute goal, I think has kind of killed the tie now for Aston Villa. But Nuno Mendes again, for me, right now is the best left back in the world. You know, and the composure that he showed for that to sit Konza down and Emi Martinez, you know, just shows a lot of what he's got in his game. So yeah, man, I think that's kind of sealed that tie now. You know, I do think Aston Villa are capable of getting some goals, but I think if they score, I believe PSG will get a few more, because I think, you know, they've got a lot of quality in their team, man. So yeah, they're gonna cause problems. But yeah, guys, big up everyone. I'm gonna go on to some of your questions in the chat. As I said, if you haven't smashed that like button or subscribed to my channel, make sure you do, guys. Big up yourselves. Big up always Anna. So Anna says, I love Arsenal. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, man, because of that scoreline against Real Madrid was thoroughly deserved, really. You know, it should have been more. Do I see Arsenal winning Champions League? I don't, I have to be honest. But what I would say, they've given themselves, you know, confidence, you know, and a cushion going into that second leg. But I don't know why, but I've got a sneaky feeling for Real Madrid. I don't know why, but I think, as I said yesterday, if Arsenal can withstand the first 20 minutes of Real Madrid pressure, then I believe they go through. But I think the first goal, if Real Madrid can get a first goal within the first 10 minutes, because they're going to be pushing for that first goal, then I think this tie can get turned, you know, because that crowd behind them, you know, and the Real Madrid heritage as well in this Champions League, I can see them, you know, coming back. But Arsenal are in a good position. But big up yourself. Masoom Stingani says, do you follow David Goggins? I don't. Let me see. So always Anna says, who is your favorite football player? Again, I've answered this so many times, but I'm happy to answer it again. I can't really pick one because I've got three, and I can't really separate three. And if I choose one, I'm leaving out the other. So my three favorite football players are the real Ronaldo, which is R9, Messi, and Ronaldinho. You know, those three are my favorite three. Other players that I like are Eden Hazard, Neymar, Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial, Paulo Dybala. You know, there's a few others, but those three for sure are my top three, man. Definitely. But big up. So Naman Mahajan says, do you think Raphinha is gonna win Balon d'Or? You know what I would say. If we're looking at numbers, and if Barcelona win Champions League and La Liga, then you would have to say he's the favourite. But what I would say is that if I'm seeing the likes of Neymar not win a Ballon d'Or, you know, it wouldn't sit right with me that Raphinha does win one, if I'm honest, you know, because I think the numbers, the GA that people love is impressive, which I don't really care about. But I think if he was to win La Liga and Champions League and have that GA, I think in a weird way you'd have to give it to him. You know, I'd give it to Yamal personally, because I'm looking at the actual footballer, and Yamal is by far the best player in the world right now. But I think GA might play a part in it, and he's got 57, I believe, GA. And if they win La Liga and the Champions League, you know, it's going to be difficult to try and not give it to him. But it wouldn't sit right with me that him winning a Ballon d'Or and Neymar hasn't. And then you've got Yamal there as well, which Yamal will win one. But you'd have to give it to Raphinha, if I'm honest, which is hard to say. But, you know, and then you got Lewandowski as well, who didn't win one, which he should have in the year where he got them mad numbers, you know. So we'll have to wait and see, man. But for sure, Raphinha deserves to be in the conversation. Always Anna says, my favourite football player is Jude Bellingham. Big up, Anna. What I would say is, I take it you haven't really seen too much football, you know. I'm not being disrespectful, but if Jude Bellingham's your favourite football player, then, you know, I'm judging what kind of football you've watched and how many years you've watched it for. But big up for your comment anyway. Big up, Sam says, United. Well, listen, let's hope, man, today we are saying that at the end of full time, because I'll tell you one thing: if they don't get a positive result, then it's going to be difficult, because they got Newcastle on the weekend and then they got the return leg, and I don't know what's going to happen, because you know there's going to be problems ahead for Amorim. But we'll have to wait and see. But I will be back later for my match reaction after the game. I'll either be back later or be back tomorrow to do my reaction, and let's hope it's a positive one. But big up Abdul Maruf Olayemi. Yeah, the Arsenal result shocked me as well. Big up WWE thing as well for coming on again. Yeah, Mendes is a quality left back. Abdul Maruf, he is. I think right now he's arguably the best left back in the world. You know, I don't think there's no one close to him. I mean, you've got Balde, I think, who will be in the next couple of seasons challenging him, or will be the best. Alphonso Davies is out injured at the moment. But yeah, I think Mendes. I can't really think of anyone else that's really in the reckoning. So yeah, for me, Mendes is one of the best. Is the best left back in the world for me. Yeah, I don't see Aston Villa signing Rashford permanent. And again, you know, Rashford's been getting his plaudits this season for at Aston Villa, but when it comes to games, you know, where you need to stand up and be counted, it didn't really do nothing yesterday. So again, but I don't think they'll be able to afford him, you know, and I think they'll just have him for the season and then look elsewhere, personally. Yeah, Timber and Gabriel. So obviously Timber will be fit, but obviously Gabriel's out for the season. But yeah, I think that second leg's going to be interesting, man. And Real Madrid, no doubt, will come out all guns blazing. You know, you can see all their players, you know, have been saying they still believe that they can go through, and why wouldn't they? You know, the experience that they have in the squad, you know, the titles they've won. So yeah, it's all in their favour, really. And yeah, Yamal does his Balon D'Or for me, man. Yamal's gonna win a few in his time anyway. So, but if Barca do a double, and again they've got the Copa del Rey final as well against Real Madrid. So, yeah, man, it's gonna be mad. But yeah, I think yeah, I'll give it to Yamal personally, but I think Raphinha might get it if they win those 3 tournaments and the GA that he's got. So. But big up, I am Titanium says, what do you think of Doue? What I'd say about Doue, yeah, is that for me, you know, I think Doue's got the potential to be special. I do. But what Doue's doing, Neymar was doing that, and Neymar was getting often criticised, especially by the English media, you know. So is what Doue doing different to what I've seen? It's not, because as I said, I've seen Neymar do that countless times, you know. But what I would say about Doue, I think, in terms of his profile, his age, I think you're looking at, you know, one of the best up and coming left wingers, and I think personally, you know, he could challenge Lamine Yamal. I think that Yamal has more quality, but Doue, you know, isn't far off him. So I think you're looking at 2 players there that could potentially dominate Ballon d'Or in the future. You know, there probably are a few other players, but I think those 2, in terms of the age and the profile, for sure will need to be looked at, man. So yeah, I think they have to be respected, man, for sure. But yeah, just getting back on, guys. Just a couple of things. So obviously, Liam Delap's release clause has been revealed. So if Ipswich get relegated, Liam Delap's got a 30 million release clause, and I think personally, you know, for me, I wasn't really looking at Delap too tough before as someone that United should be looking at bringing in. But I look at the strikers around world football now, and I look at the qualities that Delap has, you know. Again, you know, he's 21, 22, you know, experienced at a young age. And I think if you look at the qualities he has, you know, he can hold the ball up. He's got a very good touch, you know. He's got a very good shot off both feet, you know. He's got that hunger and determination, obviously being English as well, you know, playing in the lower leagues, you know. So he's got good movement in the box, you know. I think he's a decent finisher. I don't think he's a great finisher, but he can finish for sure. You know, So I think he's got all the qualities. He can link the play as well. You know, he can drop in and spray passes. So I think again, the closest player to a Liam Delap, from what I've seen in terms of an English striker, you'd have to say Harry Kane. You know, so I think he's the next Harry Kane up and coming, I would say, but he's more mobile than Harry Kane. So if he can do what Kane does in terms of, and again, he's decent in the air. He isn't great in the air, but he's decent in the air, Liam Delap. But in terms of what Kane offers, I think you're looking at someone that's very similar, but he's got the added incentive that he's more mobile than Kane. You know, so for 30 million for a striker in this era of strikers that aren't too many, I think he's a must, you know. And for me, what's important is that the likes of Rasmus Højlund's offloaded. If you can if you can offload Højlund, and then you get in a Liam Delap as a replacement for 30 million, and then you still want to go and get an Osman, let's say, then that would be great business, you know. But I think Højlund in particular needs to be offloaded, you know. I think either if you can get him away from the club on loan with an option to buy, or if someone's crazy enough to spend 40 million on him, I think that would be good business for United, because I'll definitely bring in Liam Delap because I think he's a very, very good player. And again, he's someone, if I'm looking at strikers for England, he's definitely the next one that once Harry Kane's gone, you could see him being the long-term number 9, because I don't really see too many other players coming through. You know, obviously Ivan Toney, you know, should have been a fixture in this England squad, battling the likes of Harry Kane for a spot, but obviously he's gone Saudi. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was there, but again, he's injury prone. Ollie Watkins, I don't think is good enough, if I'm honest. Solanke, I think, you know, is in the same mold of an Ollie Watkins. So yeah, there isn't too many strikers other than Harry Kane. So yeah, I would say that Liam Delap's probably the next one in line, I would say. I don't really see too many other strikers coming through. But for 30 million, definitely, because I can see Ipswich getting relegated, and he's definitely going to stay in the Premiership. It's just whether who's going to sign him, because you got Tottenham, I believe, who'll be looking at him. Obviously, Chelsea, you're looking at him as well. Man United. You know, obviously, Man City have a buyback, have a percentage as well, a sell-on percentage. You know, and I would have said that it would have been good if Man City bought him back, but I think at his stage now, he doesn't want to be back up to Haaland. You know, he needs to be playing for his development. And again, you've got Marmoush who can play through the middle as well. So, but yeah, the lap man, he's got a 30 million release clause if Ipswich get relegated, which, to be fair, I expect. And United should definitely be in the reckoning for that. And that means that Højlund has to be moved on for sure. Has to be, if the lap comes in, you know. And then lastly, before we wrap, guys, big up yourselves. Just going to go through some of the comments before we get into the last bit. Only a short one. So I am Titan says Barcola. Yeah, I'm not really a massive fan of Barcola, if I'm honest. I think Barcola fits into the mold of a lot of wide players that you see now in terms of just pure pace. You know, I like players who are more technical, really. But Barcola is a threat. There's no doubt in that. And to have Barcola and Desire Doue and Kvaratskhelia as well as options on that side of the pitch, you know, they're threats there. And let's not forget, you got Dembele as well, that can play both sides and play through the middle. So they've got loads of options. And the way that Enrique's got his team very fluid in that front three, you know, it's a problem, because many defenses are used to playing with a number 9 striker up against them, you know. But to get all them players in the team to be fluid is working well for them. But yeah, but big up ATFA X10. What team do you support? So I'm Man United, unfortunately, at the moment. And again, we've got a massive tie tonight, man, against Lyon, which I don't know how it's going to go, if I'm honest. But United need to make sure they get them they need to make sure they go into the second leg with the advantage, you know. But yeah, big up. And then yeah, just before we finish, obviously there's been news yesterday that Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk are poised to sign new deals at Liverpool, which I kind of expected. I think if you look at the ages of both players, Salah obviously could have gone to Saudi, but I think the fact that Salah will sign a new contract, I think is possibly to break records in the Premier League. I would say, and again, he could go to Saudi. What's Salah now? Salah's what, 32? I think 33, and I think if Salah hits like 35, 36 and he's still playing, I think the Saudi bag will still be there anyway, if I'm honest with you. The Saudi offer will still be there. And I think it's more about just creating more of a legacy for himself in the Premier League, And again, the fact that Trent's going to Real Madrid, they can just give Trent's wages to Salah to make him happy, And the same with Van Dijk. I think both players will definitely be getting a wage increase, I think with Van Dijk, I don't see why Van Dijk would need to leave, really, possibly to only go to Real Madrid. But Van Dijk's the captain, he's a leader there at Liverpool. He's comfortable. And Liverpool obviously are going to win the league as well. So he might think, well, what's the point of leaving? They've got things to achieve there, titles to win, so he's comfortable really. So I don't really see, I at first didn't see why those two would want to leave, because everything's in their favour. The Trent side of it, again, being from the youth, which is surprising that he would want to go. But again, he's what, 25, 26, and he's probably looking at it that he's won everything that he has to win at Liverpool. Real Madrid doesn't come around all the time. Obviously, he's got his friend in Bellingham there as well. So it's probably, and obviously the sign-on fee, which is massive as well. So yeah, you could see why Trent would have had his head turned. But the fact that he's leaving for no money, again, is going to be a bitter pill for Liverpool to take. But yeah, I think the likes of Salah and Van Dijk, again, their wage is going to be increased. So yeah, you can see why he's why they're staying there really. So yeah, but guys, big up everyone for coming on. As I said, big up Miles Squad 2417. So guys, yes, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do at Gav Goes In. Obviously, make sure you smash that like button as well. Obviously, it helps to reach more people. I think I'm on 926 subscribers, obviously trying to reach 1K. So yeah, if you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe to my channel as well. And guys, check out my other content. Check out my shorts, check out my other live streams, my other videos on there. A lot of them now at the moment have been put into chapters. So if there's specific things that you want to speak on, or if you want to check out, make sure you do. And again, make sure you put your comments as well in after the stream has ended. If you have any questions, even if you disagree with what I'm saying, and even if you want to do a stream sometimes, guys, obviously I like dialogue. Even if it's something that we don't agree on, if you feel like you're confident in front of the camera, and you want to speak on certain things, whether it be football, WWE, wrestling, boxing, UFC. Yeah, let me know, guys, and in the comments after the stream, and then we can sort out a stream where obviously we can have some dialogue, man, which is what it's about. So yeah, as I said, if you do enjoy the stream, make sure you smash that like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel. And again, all eyes on tonight, man. Man United, Lyon. Hopefully United can get a positive result. And as I said, it's going to be interesting, man, because United have got a very interesting couple of games coming up. Tonight, Newcastle, and then Lyon again for the return leg. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But before we wrap, big up to Latex. Who is your best UFC fighter? I'll be honest, I'm not really following UFC too much now. I haven't really watched too much now. I need to get back into it. But I'm more of the Anderson Silva era, when he was at his peak and that, I was watching it more then. But who is my best UFC fighter? Is that if it's of all time? I'd have to say either John Jones. It's between three of them: John Jones, Anderson Silva, or Georges St. Pierre. They're the three that I liked. This era now, I'm not really watching too much. I like Anthony Pettis as well from back in the day. Showtime. TJ Dillashaw as well. There's a few, man. There's a few that I used to watch a lot. Israel Adesanya again as well. There's a few, man. There's a few. If anyone remembers Renan Barao as well, and Benson Henderson as well. There's a lot, man. There's a lot. But I can't really tell you now because I'm not really watching it too much, you know. But yeah, guys, big up to Latex as well for your Khabib fan. Conor made UFC famous. Yeah. Listen. Conor McGregor for me. You know, if we're talking about the top 5 UFC fighters, he's not in that. Pound for pound, he's not. But in terms of bums on seats, you know, what he's brought to UFC, you have to say he's number 1. You'd have to say that, you know, because he's brought fans with his personality, with his outrageous things. And again, he's backed up in the octagon as well. So you have to say that he's definitely someone that has brought fame to UFC. But in terms of just pure fighters, you know, that top 5 is tough, but I wouldn't have him in there. But for sure, he's brought bums on seats. So he has to be given his credit for that. But yeah, guys, big up everyone for coming on. As I said, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And I'm going to catch you guys either after today's game, Man United and Lyon, or possibly tomorrow. Not sure what time yet. I might be a bit earlier than 12 tomorrow. I might be streaming possibly about 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm not too sure. But if you put your notifications on, guys, you'll see when I go live. But I'm not sure what time I'm going to be live tomorrow. So if you do enjoy the stream, make sure you catch me at some point tomorrow. But yeah, guys, big up yourselves and take it easy. Later.